All right. Hi, everybody. Hi, Rise family. Welcome. I am really pleased and feel really lucky to be here with you all and with some of my friends and fellow Lightbody Academy participants this morning or afternoon or night, whatever it is where you are. Um, and so we're inviting you to take part in the chat. If there are questions that come up for you or comments, we'll be watching the chat and speak to it the very best we can as we go. So what we're doing with these conversations is expanding your sense of what the Lightbody Academy is. And you already have these wonderful opportunities to get a sense of that in the noontime chats with Christina. And in the, that's Thursday, and the Tuesday chat with Ashlyn, who does Bridging Inner Worlds. And so we hope these conversations then give you a sense of the people that are participating in the Academy and what it's like for them to touch your curiosity, answer your questions in some way. So what we're going to be doing is introducing ourselves to you and talking about how we came to be part of the Lightbody Academy. And we'll go from there. I'm hoping to get a little specific to answer your questions about what really happens, what's in the format, in the labs. So we'll try to weave that in too, so we paint you a picture of what it's like to step into a lab and kind of how it works and how it's felt to each of us. Okay, then. So we'll start with me. My name's Alana Mook, and I'm coming to you from the United States, in the state of California, in the north, up by our magnificent redwood giant family. And I've been a participant in the Lightbody Academy now for 1.5 years. Wow, does time fly? It's just absolutely amazing. And how I came to be associated with the Academy, let's see, how can I do that in a shorthand version? In my life, I think as long as I can remember, I always was in this life feeling like I was connected to something much bigger than just the life I was living on the earth. So I had that theme kind of perspective and orientation. And in hindsight, I can recognize that theme played out through my life. I felt like I was here for something. But in feeling like I was here for something, I tended to separate being here from the grand out there that I seemed to have felt like I was here to serve. So while I was having a wonderful life, born into a really supportive family who, much to my delight, were nature lovers. And so my family was not only very supportive, but we loved to play in nature, all of us, mom, dad, brother, myself. And so we were really exposed to the joys of being with nature and playing with nature and just being and in the joy of it and in the moment of it. So I had that experience too. And in my life, for lack of knowing how to describe it, I'll say that I always felt like shining a light. My whole life, I always wanted to shine a light and inspire a climate or a situation to be bright and to light up. And at some points in my life, I might have described myself as a light worker because of this. There's so much more to it, I know, than that. But for brevity, we'll leave it at that. So through my life, I always really have been a people lover, and I'm very comfortable with people. But the flip side of that is I'm also shy about initiating interactions. So it's funny that I can be so fond of people and so comfortable once I'm with people, but be so shy and introverted about initiating interactions. But I had a job in the educational system that connected me just hugely to people. And so I had a whole career of purposeful and guided interaction with people. But as I look back at the way I designed my life and have learned my lessons, I think I would say that there was always a part of me that separated the bigger picture and where I came from the life I was living, as if the life I was living somehow was not quite, it didn't have quite as much importance as whatever I thought I was representing and remembering. And so I walked through my life always kind of, I didn't know it at the time, and I certainly didn't recognize it for a long time, always kind of in a separated state, always a part of me that didn't come all the way forward and get shared while I was doing whatever I was doing here. So I had a lot of family, a lot of good friends, a lot of love, a lot of that. But in retrospect, I was never all the way fully present. There was a foot in and a foot out always. And so as I designed my life, not paying a lot of attention to that pattern, I went through my life, did what I did, believed what I believed, and came to a point in my life where I started to notice that my light wasn't automatically shining anymore. And I was having to exert myself to light up in a situation. It was becoming work. And at some point, it just started to feel very dense. And I felt kind of walled in and dense. And sometimes like I had to work too hard to find the light. So while all this was happening, I created a beautiful living space, lovely home surrounded by beautiful nature, and landed. I was very synchronistically called to this place, and it gave me a couple years of introspection I really needed to begin to, just sit with myself and look at what was going on. And then what I'll call the impulse to unity started to rise, I think, in the collective. I would almost dramatically describe it as the clarion call to unity, to get together for the next thing that's coming. But in my personal life, what happened was it got me to the point where I was acknowledging that I had isolated myself and it was getting lonely and I wanted to rejoin. But I couldn't figure out how to rejoin. I was like, oh no, I've been doing this without having to exert effort at joining for so long. I don't remember how to join. So I put out the call to my guidance, to my higher aspects, to whoever it is that's in helping me along the way, and said to my spirit, to my soul, help me see the first steps or the steps on the pathway. And what I'll do in return is I promise I'll explore them when I see that they're up. So the first thing that came up was I discovered a conference that was happening. And it was so different and it intrigued me. And I felt the light up that I was asking for from my soul. And so I went, well, okay, that sounds like an adventure. And it involved a road trip and a camping trip. I like both of those, and something really different. I needed that. And so I wound up at a conference, and I happened to be one of the tent campers, not in the dormitories. And one of my tent neighbors was Christina Schwind, the creator of this Lightbody Academy. And it was a wonderful, almost instant draw and recognition that there was something there for me. And I had the opportunity to sit over coffee and chat with her, and it just grew stronger and stronger. And then I had the opportunity, she was one of the presenters, to listen to her speak. So long story short, took her card, really not having a clue what the Lightbody Academy was or what I was attracted to, but I took the card with me because I knew there was something there for me, and I was just strongly interested. And then I wound up joining the Rise of the Multidimensional Human group. With something with a title like that, how could I resist? Of course I'm joining that group. I've met the core person, and I love the title. So I went there, and that was the beginning of my entry into the Lightbody Academy. I came in through the Dreamtime Healing Project. Absolutely not knowing what to expect, and got so much out of it so immediately. It's such an experiential learning situation that takes you right down to the real deal of what, I was seeking, and didn't even know I was seeking. And it's just had a tremendous effect on my life, being part and participant in the program. In what way? In the way I just said, in answering my longing, in learning to be more transparent, and in the way the program's designed to step into the beautiful, non-judgmental, caring way that people hold space for you so that you can look at your stuff. You can trust and let come up what wants to come up and be cleared in yourself, and turned into such a sense of family. And when you trust and drop into it, and so much benefit to be able to look at yourself while people don't judge you and hold space for you. And of course, I started just really bumping into my own limitations, my own limited thinking, my own ways that I bound and held myself, and was not easy to admit them or let them come up when, I had a lifetime of hiding them and only showing what the sweet, sweet, nice, what I wanted to be seen stuff. But I got the hang of it. And to my great benefit, the more I allowed it, the more support other people could be, and the more layers I peeled, and the more I got fond of and liked stepping up and becoming more present, and exercising my fullness rather than just guarding parts I didn't want seen. It just got freer and freer, more and more wonderful. At the same time, it taught me how to hold focus and focus my attention, and the power of focusing attention in a resonance with other people. And it's turned into the most exciting, useful, not only for my individual process and refinement and learning and growing to know myself more and more, but the excitement about coming together, and the power of what we do with our collective resonance and focused intention. So that's me here now. It's a work in progress, but I'm not the same person I was a year and a half ago. In part, of course, for my readiness, but in a large part because of what I've gotten out of participating in the Lightbody Academy. It's exciting. It's wonderful. I couldn't even have imagined what it's brought to my life a year and a half ago. Okay. Joanne, how about you?
Huge.
Oh,
They're always hitting the wrong button. Get the hang of all this. Yes. Well, I'm one of the newbies. I'm the newest of this group anyway, and I was born and raised in Hawaii, and it was a very different place back then. It was much more natural, and I think the highest speed limit was 25 miles an hour on 2-lane roads. So you can see my growing up would be considered rural almost now. As a young child, I feel I was very sensitive and very much loving animals and plants and the outdoors and the beach, of course, and water. And then because my parents were very concerned about grades and amounting to something, I felt pressured even as a child to shape up and to be intelligent enough by demonstrating good grades in school. And that was something I had to learn to do. So I would have liked to have probably grown up as an adult and be on a ranch with a horse or that kind of thing, or get married and have children. And my mother said, well, anyone can do that. So I kept trying to please my parents, and maybe an inner sense that something I needed to do. So I would have never guessed it, but I've been in education all my life. I've never not been taking some class or another. So I went from Hawaii to Chicago for 2 years in school, and then I transferred out to the West Coast, and I stayed there for a number of years and taught school. And then finally decided to come back home, where I married and had my family. And in the mid-70s, I was very interested in children. I began teaching in California is what it was. And I'm going to regress here. I thought I wanted to become an interior design person or work with clothes design. And but somehow I started taking education classes, and I'm not quite sure why. And as I walked across campus one day, I was thinking to myself, what do I do in life if the islands sink and my parents disown me and I never get married and I never have children? And some voice truly spoke to me and said, teach. And I really wondered if that voice was speaking to me or not. And I've discovered now that it was a major signal, message. And so I did. And I walked into my first day with a 4th grade class, fell in love with all the children, and I knew that's where I belonged. I have emotion right now. I can feel it, to the point where I remember almost all the children's names, which was many years ago. And so I discovered that teaching was what I needed to do, at least to be with children and to discover ideas and concepts and information and learn together. And also, I feel that, wow, this is what we do in lab, bring up stuff. And that's what's happening for me right now, is to see that they feel confident in school, no matter what their learning style, that they honored who they were, trusted who they were, and they were excited about learning and felt comfortable in the classroom and safe. And so that was my thrust. So when I returned to Hawaii, there was an opportunity to begin a school. It was something I'd wanted to do. And the church that I belonged to, a small church, was looking to begin a preschool. And so that's what we did in the mid-70s. And I happened to be with a wonderful woman who was my mentor. And if it had been anyone else, we probably would have not accomplished what we did. But the synchronicity and the divine appointments, I truly believe that we came together. The minister, I had talked with him. We had a meeting with another woman. I said to him, later, that's not my picture of a school, the picture that the other woman had. So I just kind of put it on the back shelf. And a few months later, I guess, this woman called on the phone. I'd never met her. And she said, oh, the Reverend said that you wanted to begin a school. We must have talked for an hour, but it was almost like touching wings. It was wonderful. And we were both so excited. And so what we discovered was a way of working with children, which included much of the reading I had done and the work I had done in the past with children. As by that time, I had taught from 4th grade, 6th grade, 7th and 8th grade, all the way up through high school, and was going back to preschool because I believed children needed to know they were okay from the very beginning, that we didn't want to wait to try to fix them when they got to be seniors in high school. So I went back to the beginning. There was actually a book called Parachutes for Parents, written by a friend of mine, Bobby Merrill, who took what we were doing and wrote it. And so that's been online for a while. And then after I had been there for 7 years, it was time for me to go into, I needed an R&R, as a matter of fact. It was very intense. I had 2 children and a staff of 16 or so, and 75 sets of parents and children, and had really put my whole heart and soul into it. So when I was leaving, a woman, a nun, showed up in my office and said to me, "Why don't you go into Montessori training?" And I went, "I'm on R&R, excuse me." And so, but she always talked me into everything. She always talked everyone into everything. It was quite amazing. She had that talent. And so I ended up helping to put a preschool together on the Shawnee University campus here, which was Montessori after my training. And so then I was really focused on early childhood. Anyway, I'll leave my educational background, but the point there was that children have been my life, and the authenticity of children, the honesty of them, the ability for them to learn and to not be attached too deeply or too strongly to any concept or belief system, that with loving care and with dialogue, they're able to see other perspectives quite easily, especially when it's an experiential thing. And we were very experiential. So then from then I went to the university scene, and in this 7-year period at this preschool, which was affiliated with the church, we were doing very different things. We had read Seth. I don't know if you're familiar with Jane Roberts and that material. And I had been taking many, many workshops with a number of different people, of Earl Minto, Jack Schwartz, and so forth. So metaphysics had come into my life quite strongly. And so when I went to the university, I ended up going back for my master's degree in both education and psychology. But at the time, I kept feeling that the whole world was growing like I had been growing for those 7 years, because it was like almost being reborn again. It was amazing and exciting. And when I came out and discovered that the rest of the world wasn't processing like we were processing, I was extremely disappointed and kind of shocked and taken aback, and it took me a while to adjust. So I continued with my own personal business, and then reached a point just recently where I was thinking, where do I go from here? And so one day, I don't know how I got into Rise for the multidimensional human. It just popped up, but things pop up like books fall off shelves when you're ready to read them. Well, it was kind of like that. And so I joined it, and I noticed Christina's Thursday chats, and I thought, oh, that's it. And I started listening, and I went, whoa, can I believe that? And can I stretch? So I noticed as I listened every Thursday that it started to make more and more sense, and I felt more comfortable stretching each week as I listened to her. And finally one day, this whole thing is so serendipitous. I can't even remember which video I watched or whose name it was on there. It just, something said yes. And even though I was kind of counting my pennies at the time, something just said, just go for it. And so I did. And woo, excuse me, I'll have a moment of deep emotion. What hit me the most was the women here in this group were authentic, and that people knew how to process, which I appreciated deeply, because even in the field of psychology, and knowing a number of doctors who are psychologists, I had not found people who knew how to process like this. They usually would stop the process, or let me just say, it was not as expensive and as amazing as what happens here. I see things happen in one lab that would take maybe weeks, I don't know, months for it to clear. And maybe not even, because we go so deep in these labs that I'm amazed. Truly, absolutely. Um, and I guess I want to stop here. I'm just so excited about being a part of this group. Um, I'm so glad it was time for me on my timeline to enter, and it just makes all the difference in my life. And at the beginning, I was so excited that I think I listened to almost all of the videos in the library, which are wonderful. That's such a wonderful teaching tool too, that once you join this group, and I went through the healing labs too, the opportunity to watch videos of the labs is one of the best teaching tools. So you can even go back over your own labs that you attended, and you can see them and get the material again a different way. And so I find that go back and watching myself in the labs really assists me as well. So I can not recommend anything any higher than this experience. It's pretty wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Yeah. And it's just so beautiful that everyone steps forward in their uniqueness and we all benefit from the uniqueness of each other. It's great.
Yeah.
Who's next, girls? Anybody impulse to go next? Shelley, let's have it.
Hi, my name is Shelley, or Michelle, as some people know me. My story, I was raised in a very small town, raised a Christian in a very loving and kind, non-judgmental church, which I think has really assisted me on this path. And I remember when I was about 12, my mom said the word karma. And that kind of, it's like I chewed on that word. It's like, what is that? 12-year-olds don't usually get introduced to that word. But my mother was she was very open to all different types of religions and teachings. And she's very instrumental in getting me on the path. So I did the normal teenage things, got married when I was 18 and started working, had kids at 25. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I didn't want to work really, and I really didn't want to go to college. But as things turned out, I ended up in the health field, going to school in my 30s, and just kind of surrounded myself with friends that were very kind and loving, open-minded. And then at 87, during my convergence, I saw a lady on TV, and I thought, I think I know this lady. And I called my mom, and she says, I feel like I know her too. Well, let's go to the weekend event. So we did, and lo and behold, we had a magical experience with regressions and group meditations. And the lady that led it has ended up being one of my best friends, and still is. I mean, we talk every day. And she's a channel, and so that's very helpful to have a different perspective. So in the early 90s, I started working, and my employer heard about these Inca elders that were coming to America with Alberto Vialdo. And she said, hey, do you want to go over to a monastery and check out these Inca elders? And I said, why not? And so we spent 4 different trips over there to learn a medicine wheel. And they were amazing in their way of looking at life and the way they had a joyful exuberance. I guess they got excited about a watch. They thought that was really awesome and funny at the same time because their time is totally different than the way we manage our time. And so that kind of, I kept a lot of their practices going and ended up doing various things through my life and met Lori, who was a major helpful person in this group. She's just the go-to girl. And she introduced me to Christina. And I think it was in mid 2017, I went to one of her classes, and I joined in 2019 with the Dreamtime Healing Project. And I heard Christina say, Pachamama. And I thought, wait a minute, that's the way Incas talk about Mother Earth. I wonder. So here she had trained under the same people I had trained under, which I find kind of odd because, most people had never heard of it. So that kind of cemented the, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. So I've been in the project for a couple years now. As Joanne said, there's an authenticity and a way of holding space, and it goes beyond love. It's just such a presence that everyone that I've encountered in this group have brought, and how they've helped me holding the space and staying with me and kind of encouraging me very strongly at times to go ahead and process it and meet it and deal with it and move on. So I guess that's my story.
Thank you, Shelley. Hey, Miss Laurel.
Hey, Miss Alana. Well, my story is kind of wild. So I don't even know where to start. Well, let's start when my kids were young. My kids have had, I'll just say that I'm in southern British Columbia in Canada. My kids were having wild experiences when they were little. And I was starting to have some wild experiences of my own, just here in our house, outside the house. Man, I don't even know how to get into that. But I've been looking for someone to help me make sense of all of this. And in that quest, I read a lot of books. I watched a lot of different shows and things. I delved into the Mayan calendar very deeply. After that, I found a monk from an Eastern tradition, and that really touched my heart. And so I went deep into that tradition for about 18 years, which was very beneficial for me. However, in the meantime, all those things ceased, which I thought was, that's very interesting. Nothing's going on. And then later on in this 18th year, these things started up again. And I was having interactions with interdimensional beings. And this had been going on for all those years ago with my children. And particularly Sasquatch, but others as well. And I thought, I got to make some sense of this. I left the tradition because what was happening wasn't fitting with. I tried to bring it forward. It just didn't mesh. So I thought, I've got to go find someone to help me through this. So the same conference that Alana was at, which to me is bizarre, had posted these videos and of their speakers, and Christina was one of those speakers. And it was like I saw her, and the fireworks and the light bulbs just started going off. And I thought, I've got to speak to this lady. And in the meantime, same as you, Joanne, I'm into the lunchtime chats, just ravenously going through the lunchtime chats. And this is just reinforcing all the other things I learned years ago, as well as a lot of my Buddhist teachings. So it was like, okay, I've hit the jackpot. So I did have a couple of sessions with Christina, and then went to this conference. I had to get a new car. I had to get all new camping gear to go. And I was camping too. And I was directly across from Alana and Christina at this conference. But I didn't know that Alana was there until like a few weeks ago. So that was interesting. I sat in the same thing, watched Christina speak. Once again, totally like, wow. yeah, totally knew that I was in the right place. And so I spoke to her while I was there about her program and the different levels. And I said, I really want to go on the deep dive because I feel like I've been wasting my time. That's not true. I feel like a slow learner. And I wanted to get to the bottom of what's going on here in my life. So I said, I really want to go into the deep dive. And
Can you tell people what that is, Laurel?
the deep dive is pretty much as you can handle, as far as labs and pods labs and things are concerned. You're pretty much doing the processing and the work with each other almost daily. And so the speed of transformation is very accelerated. And wow, that was not a mistake for me. And the great thing is I started having more interdimensional connections with different beings as the result of this. And some incredible things are happening, which would never, I'm positive it wouldn't have happened otherwise. So because of clearing different blind spots and things that we have to things that are there in our awareness, they're under our awareness, these things can become accessible. So that's been an incredible journey. I don't even know what to say. My life is completely different. It was the best thing. Well, I'm gonna say I've had a lot of good things happen in my life, but this is right up there. And I find Christina's just, I can't say enough good things about her and her approach and her compassion and the skill level, the wisdom, just mind-blowing to be able to help facilitate people to get, to a place where this can happen by peeling away layers of old belief systems and these blind spots that we have to getting to this place. So it's been an amazing journey, and I hope to continue for a long time. I've been Alana and I joined pretty much the same time. So I really don't even know what to say. It's changed my life completely. And this group of women, I can't, again, say enough. Just like everyone else, I feel the same way. It's a deep connection with these people. So much love, so much respect for these people, wow, that are here, and just, no fear going into their stuff and clearing. No fear. Just full on, let's do it. And we all do it together. And the amazing thing about this program is how we can all work. We can all look at someone from our special points of view when we're in that pod or that lab. And so we have a full spectrum view of that person's between us, what's happening with them, and so that we can actually really be of service to them. So it's really comprehensive approach that I don't know that's happening anywhere else. I've never heard of another place that does it this way. And it's like these ladies were saying, it happens so fast. That clearing can happen in one session, where again, it would take weeks and weeks, months, even years for certain things to be cleared. So again, not the same person. Don't feel like I was the same person last week. Probably won't be the same person next week. Things just start shifting so fast. And it's a fun, loving environment, safe place to be. And I think that's it for me.
Thank you, Laurel. That's a nice segue into talking a little more about the labs and the first step-ins and how it felt for each of us and what really goes on in that lab. But for a moment, I'm scanning the chats. Thank you to all of you sending your smiles and your hellos. Hello back to you, and delighted that you're here. Okay, so I'd like to go right from that. Laurel, you started to talk about holding space and the perspectives that open up in this format. I'd love to talk a little bit about the format, just how it's set up. And I'd like this to be an open conversation so we can play filler for each other, both to share our experience within the labs and build the picture for the listeners who are interested in, you join up and you step into a lab. What is that? Although, as you can hear, all of us really didn't know the answer to that, jumped in and benefited dramatically. So, but just in case you're wondering. So I'll just start a little by saying that what we have right here is what's kind of typical in the labs. It'll be one of the facilitators, and the Academy has wonderful facilitators, each really unique with a different facilitation style, a different set of tools and things that they bring to their facilitation than the others, and mixing the labs up and getting everybody's facilitation style just builds exponentially even the experience. So it's wonderful. So you'll have a facilitator and 3 participants who have signed up, and that's the way that it goes. And if anybody can remember back to their first step in to a lab and what it felt like and what it was like, I think that would be an interesting conversation. Yeah, go, Laurel.
I felt like I knew nothing. I felt like I had no skills. I felt like a deer in the headlights, but actually had more to contribute than I thought I would have. So I think that's probably what I got out of it, is that, yes, it's like I don't know what I'm doing, but there's way more there than you think is there when you first start out.
That was similar to my experience too. To step in, I was bumping up against being self-conscious and wondering whether I knew enough to participate, and kind of being on guard. And the way that was handled, the way that's okay, the way that was instantly okay for me to feel that way, because it's the way you're feeling. So it's okay. It's what's happening. And the skilled facilitation and the people in the group. And what's nice about the labs is you have people in the group that run the spectrum of newbies to having been at it a while. And so you get the spectrum spread out in that way too. You have other people in there with you that are feeling a little bit the same way, and you have people that have already felt that and come through it, that are can hold the space non-judgmentally for you to feel it, and their perspective and input feeds in from that place. And for me, I almost immediately responded to the fact that, even though it kind of scared me, because I realized almost instantly in that situation how much I control what I expose myself to and what I show. And that was kind of embarrassing. I mean, there were many times where I was even sometimes mortified by what I was looking at in myself. But, you get over that, because guess what? It's you. It's okay. It's who you are. It's what it's part of your process and what brought you there and what you're becoming. So it becomes okay. But it took me actually quite a while to stop, to really relax into that. But the beauty of the design is that it's an experiential process right from the get-go. The moment you land in it, it's learned by experience. But all of those insecurities you may or may not have, some people step right in there and are transparent and, comfortable with it. It seems like really almost right away. I don't know if that's true or not, but for me, it was a much slower process, but it was handled so beautifully by the format and the facilitation and the space holding of the other people. And then I built my muscle for tolerating looking at things in me I'd prefer not to see, or that had been buried in my denial pit for so long. I can't even remember when I started putting them there. And, I'm mortified at first. But now, I've gotten to the point through this process where when something comes up that's a bit uncomfortable, I'm like, oh, good, here comes the next thing I need to look at and clear. And I'm so comfortable in the setting. I know I'm going to have a lot of help to do it in these labs. So that's how that was for me coming in and continues to play out. And it just keeps going, I just keep going deeper and deeper and learning more and more and coming more and more into myself and my joy at being myself and my confidence and bringing myself into our collective. And my knowing that that's really what I'm here to do, is to bring whatever is uniquely mine to bring as cleanly and clearly and freely into the resonance as I can.
I would say when I first got into the labs, I was kind of nervous whenever I know I would have a lab because I didn't know what was going on. And I think I was pretty quiet for a lot of the first ones. What I was amazed at was if you opened up and allowed yourself to be seen, it went so much easier. And that's something that we're not generally trained to expose ourselves like that. So that was very beneficial, and how I started getting excited about going to labs because, like Alana said, you realize that you're going to get to get freedom from things that have held you back, like blind spots, restrictions you put on yourself, these silly beliefs that we've been told since day one in this 3D reality. So it started getting exciting. And what's amazing is everyone has their own gift, be it tracking, be it sometimes we say we'll call BS because we can tell someone's not being quite authentic or truthful. There's people out there that are really good at that. It's just holding space. Some people think that they aren't participating, or they don't even know why they're there, but there's an element of their presence that is holding space, and it allows us to feel safe to expose silly beliefs or ways that we bash ourselves and put ourselves down. But that's really cool. And having the facilitator and the other individuals, and sometimes you have never met the person that you're going to be very real with, and they're going to be real with you. So it goes a long way in addressing trust issues. But it's amazing. It is truly amazing.
It's kind of a hard thing to describe too, because so much is going on in there all at once on so many levels. Like you can hear, I hope that, you're stepping in there with your own personal process, facing your own, whatever it is that you're feeling, learning to trust. And at the same time, with wonderful guidance and facilitation, learning how to hold space and how to I always thought I always was really proud of what a great space holder I was. I'm sorry, you're going to hear me laugh a lot when I talk about my belief system about how much I thought I knew or how good I was at something, because not that I'm criticizing the way I used to be, but it's just been so refined and so deepened. And my ability to hold space and keep my own judgment or my own stuff from spilling over. And well, Christina might call it sliming somebody that I was trying to hold space for, but has just really, really grown. So I'm learning to hold space. I'm being heard and seen and held and encouraged to let whatever's time to come up. And I'm getting this growing sense of my own freedom and sovereignty. And I'm getting a growing sense of the collective power of holding intention, and getting increasingly excited about both what I have in front of me to offer and add and discover, but also the more I unwind and the more space I clear, the more floods in. It's just becoming exponential, and what's flowing in gets so much more deep and hits my sense of truth and belonging and purpose so much more deeply than I might have been engaged with in the way I was pursuing things in my past. So, and then you're having within that the experience and the space holding, it gets very multidimensional, and people are having their own experiences, like Laurel alluded to, with interdimensional experience and communications, and issues are coming up that open up a pathway to experiences that have happened in other places at other times, and that's what is calling to be looked at. And it just continues to expand my sense of my multidimensionality and our multidimensionality, and my sense of who I maybe truly am.
Well, I'm laughing at my first time. It happened to be with Christina. And so she said, who would like to put the driver's suit on? And I said, I would, because I thought, oh, good, we get to play this game. We get to do this. Because one thing I bring to this is I've done a lot of processing, both as a facilitator and as a person who's being facilitated, but in different modalities. But so I thought, oh, good, I'm home. And I jumped in, and it went pretty well because I reviewed it, but I had no idea how deep processes can go. So the first one was a very pleasant surprise and exciting, but then after that, I got to learn how deep was, and I had no idea, and I still don't really experientially, even though I'm experiencing levels that I never have ever experienced before, and in ways I never have. And I've also learned to trust the way I receive information. As all the other ladies were saying, how we're all very different in the way we express ourselves, but also in the way we receive information and our particular modality and how we operate. And so learning to trust yourself, and that this strange idea or picture that comes to mind isn't totally off the wall, to trust it and bring it forth to the group, which ends up bringing a whole nother piece, sometimes a whole nother direction that we all go, oh my God, how did we get there? But yeah, so it's very, very exciting, and I just love it. Anyway, so thank you, Alana.
Thank you, Joanne.
I'd just like to add that if you're considering joining Lightbody, that all you need to show to come here is your willingness to show up. That's all you need. Your willingness to show up authentically is all you need. and you'll be totally supported in that. So
I just want to add, no matter who you are, what your background is of any kind, it really is. I mean, I'm trying to put add a dimension to what you just said, Laurel, because I'm thinking of people who have had no background at all, maybe in any of this as they listen, but they feel a pull. And I just want to accentuate what you said, put an exclamation mark after the fact that you can just be whoever you are, because the group is so totally accepting and so helpful and authentic and
diverse.
And diverse, yes, absolutely, yes.
Yeah. It's getting increasingly exciting, and there just seems to be more and more. And that that pull, that desire, that longing for belonging and unity that I really didn't even know I had, that led me down the path to here, I found it here. I found a sense of deep connection and family that I wasn't expecting, and it's an absolute delight. And that hunger that I never knew I had it's satiated at this point by this sense of belonging and this sense of unity that just keeps growing. And together, my experience is that we're growing in the strength of our resonance and the trust of our resonance and the creativity of our morphing resonance, in a way that it just seems out in front of us in the most exciting ways, creative possibility ways, because it is morphing and it is strengthening, and the unity, the sense of unity and how we're experiencing it and playing with it and experimenting with it again in this supportive space is just blooming for me. And I'm watching it, I believe, for all of us. And anyway, it's been wonderful for me. I just followed my soul, my spirit, my impulse, my attraction to this Lightbody Academy, and it's a gift I've given myself that's beyond anything I was expecting or could have imagined. So I would also encourage anyone who's feeling that kind of a draw and a pulse to really consider jumping in. It's quite an unusual and amazing and very timely, I think, experience. So, all right, guys. Wow, our hour's up. They go by so fast. I thank everybody in the Rise group who's here with us or listening later. And I thank you, my sisters, for joining me here. And I wish us all just glowing, wonderful, blooming in the unfolding dream.
thank you, Alana.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies.
Yes. So I think our Christina will be
Thank you,
back
ladies.
too. Thanks, guys. Love you.
Love you all too. Thank you.
So, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.